Hello mga kakwento! Welcome to the Serene Sessions, where hearts speak and secrets unfold. Ako nga pala si DJ Serene, ang inyong kakwentuhan sa mga kwento ng buhay, pag-ibig at mga pagsubok sa araw-araw. Minsan, ang pagmamahal na hindi pinapayagan ng mundo ay mas malakas pa kaysa sa lahat ng puwersang humahadlang dito. Ito ang kwentong ating mapapakinggan. Hi DJ Serene, ako si Alessandra. I'm 28 years old, mula sa isang prominenteng Filipino-Chinese family. Sa panlabas, mukhang perpekto ang buhay ko. Ang pamilya namin ang may-ari ng malalaking mall, hotel, at iba't ibang ari-arian sa bansa. My parents are well-respected business leaders, and people look up to them. Pero sa likod ng lahat ng ito, hindi ganoon kaganda ang nakikita ko. My world is full of rules, expectations, and constant pressure to protect the family's name. Ilang taon ko nang ginagawa ang lahat ng gusto nila. Nag-aral sa pinakamagagandang paaralan, nagbihis ng disente, at dumalo sa bawat event para mag-network. Pero kahit kailan, parang hindi sapat. DJ Serene, let me describe myself. I'm 5'6", with long hair na hanggang balikat ko. Maputi ako, and people always say I look elegant. May almond-shaped eyes ako na sabi ni Mama. Ang pinakamaganda mong feature, it makes you look smart and composed. Lagi niya akong pinaaalalahanan, use your looks to your advantage. Ang pananamit ko ay simple pero refined. Minimal jewelry, polished shoes, at classy cuts. Sa pamilya namin, mahalaga ang panlabas na anyo. Lagi nilang sinasabi, how you look is how people will respect you. Bilang panganay, napakalaki ng expectations sa akin. Simula bata pa lang, paulit-ulit kong naririnig kay Papa, Alessandra, your actions represent our family. Don't embarrass us. Kaya, kahit pagod na ako, kailangan kong ipakita na kaya ko. At 28, mas mabigat ang pressure. Pinipilit nila akong maging leader sa family business. Sabi nila, it's time for you to prove that you can handle our legacy. Pero paano ko sasabihin na hindi ito ang buhay na gusto ko? Dagdag pa roon, gusto na rin nilang mag-settle down ako. Maghanap ka na ng mapapangasawa, sabi nila. Ang hindi nila alam, ayoko namang magpakasal sa lalaki. DJ Serene, bata. Palang ako, alam ko na iba ako. Habang ang mga kaibigan ko kinikilig sa mga crush nilang lalaki, ako naman mas humahanga sa mga babae. I admired their beauty, their strength, and their grace. Pero sa pamilya namin, bawal maging iba. Kahit mag-date ng hindi Chinese, malaking issue na. Paano pa kaya kung malaman nilang babae ang gusto ko? I've hidden this part of myself for years. Kahit ang pinakamalalapit kong kaibigan, hindi alam ang totoo. Takot akong mawalan ng pamilya. Kaya ngayon, dalawa ang buhay ko. Sa harap ng mundo, ako si Alessandra, ang obedient daughter and poised businesswoman. Pero sa loob, ako ay isang taong naghahanap ng kalayaan. DJ Serene, sinasabi ko ito dahil gusto kong ipaalam sa iba na hindi sila nag-iisa. Alam kong marami ang katulad ko. Yung tipong natatakot maging totoo dahil baka hindi matanggap. Pero, this isn't just a story of pain. It's also about love, courage, and how life has a way of surprising us. Kasi alam mo, lahat ng nagbago sa buhay ko ay nagsimula nang makilala ko siya. Siya ang nagpakita sa akin na karapat-dapat ang puso kong magmahal ng malaya kahit parang imposible. It was a cold evening in Prague. Nasa Czech Republic ako for a business conference. Sabi ni Papa, Alessandra, you need to show everyone that you're ready to take on bigger responsibilities. Pero ang totoo, gusto ko lang makawala kahit saglit. Nagstay ako sa isang napakagandang hotel. Pero kahit gaano kaganda ang paligid, parang ang bigat pa rin ng pakiramdam ko. Every day was the same. Meetings, networking dinners, and endless talks about profits and partnerships. Parang nakaprograma lahat ng kilos ko. Isang gabi, matapos ang mahabang araw ng meetings, naglakad-lakad ako. Nakarating ako sa Old Town Square, isa sa pinakamagandang lugar na nakita ko. As I stood there staring at the astronomical clock, I felt a strange sense of peace. Parang bumagal ang mundo. Then, I heard a voice. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Sabi ng isang babae. Lumingon ako at nakita ko siya. She was standing a few feet away, wearing a sleek black coat and a scarf wrapped neatly around her neck. Ang ganda niya, DJ, elegant and effortless, with her hair tied in a loose ponytail and her cheeks slightly flushed from the cold. Parang anghel siya sa ilalim ng mga ilaw ng lungsod. "Yes, it is." Sagot ko. Kahit ang totoo, hindi na yung clock ang tinitingnan ko. Hindi ko maalis ang tingin ko sa kanya. "I'm Felicity," sabi niya, sabay abot ng kamay. May kasamang ngiti na parang kaya kang basahin ng buo. "I'm Alessandra," sagot ko habang mahina akong kinamayan ang kamay niya. Her grip was firm, confident, and it sent a strange warmth through me despite the freezing air. Ngumiti siya, at sa sandaling iyon, pakiramdam ko nasa harap ako ng taong nakakakita sa tunay kong pagkatao. Naglakad-lakad kami sa paligid ng square. Para bang natural lang ang lahat. Ikinuwento niya na galing din siya sa Pilipinas at nasa Prague siya para sa isang religious retreat na inorganisa ng pamilya nila. "Kailangan ko lang ng pahinga," sabi niya, sabay tawa ng mahina. "It's overwhelming sometimes, being surrounded by people who expect you to be perfect." Bawat salita niya, parang pumipintig sa puso ko. Tumango ako at sinabing, "I know exactly how you feel." "You do?" Tanong niya, bahagyang tumagilid ang ulo sa pag-usisa. "Yes," sagot ko. "My family has expectations of me too. It's exhausting." Tinitigan niya ako na parang naiintindihan niya ang bigat ng sinabi ko. "Then maybe tonight, we don't have to be those people," sabi niya. "Maybe we can just be two strangers enjoying the night." For the first time in a long while, ngumiti ako. "I'd like that," sagot ko. Nagpatuloy kami sa paglalakad. Hindi alintana ang lamig. Ikinuwento niya ang buhay niya, kung paano deeply religious ang pamilya niya, at kung paano nila inaasahan na lagi siyang maging huwaran ng pananampalataya at mga tradisyon nila. "I love them," sabi niya. "But sometimes, I just want to breathe." "I feel the same way," I admitted. "I love my family, but I always feel like I'm just a piece of their puzzle. Like I don't have the right to be my own person." Huminto siya sa paglalakad at tumingin sa akin. "Do you think it's selfish to want that?" Umiling ako. "No, I think it's human." Nagpatuloy kami sa pag-uusap, sharing our deepest fears and desires. Pagdating ng hating gabi, nasa Charles Bridge na kami, nakatingin sa mga ilaw ng lungsod na sumasalamin sa ilog. Parang panaginip ang tanawin, sobrang ganda. "This is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen," sabi ko habang nakatingin sa tubig. "It's not," sagot niya ng mahina. Paglingon ko, nakatitig siya sa akin. At sa sandaling iyon, para bang tumigil ang mundo. Hindi ko alam kung bakit, pero nasabi ko, "Felicity, I don't know why, but I feel like I've been waiting to meet you." Ngumiti siya, hindi inaalis ang tingin sa akin. "Maybe you have. Maybe I've been waiting for you too." Sa sandaling yun, DJ, para akong lumulutang. Wala akong naririnig kundi ang tibok ng puso ko. Kinabukasan, nagkita ulit kami. This time sa isang cozy cafe malapit sa Old Town. Nandoon na si Felicity nang dumating ako, umiinom ng hot chocolate. Pagtingin niya, ngumiti siya at kinawayan ako. "You came," sabi niya. Ang boses niya ay mainit at nakakapanatag. "Of course," sagot ko. I couldn't stop thinking about last night. Nagkwentuhan kami habang naghihintay ng pagkain. Everything felt so easy, so natural, parang matagal na kaming magkakilala. Sa mga sumunod na araw, magkasama kaming nag-explore sa Prague. Sa umaga, naglalakad kami sa cobblestone streets ng Old Town. Sa hapon, we'd visit museums and parks, sharing stories about our lives back home. Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Tanong ko habang nakaupo kami sa isang bench overlooking the Vltava River. All the time, sagot niya. I love my family, but sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating under their expectations. They see me as this perfect daughter, but they don't know who I really am. Same, sagot ko, tumango. I've been pretending for so long that I don't even know who I am anymore. Tiningnan niya ako, puno ng pag-unawa ang mga mata niya. You're not alone, Alessandra. I feel the same way. Sa sandaling iyon, napagtanto ko kung gaano karami ang pagkakatulad namin. Hindi lang sa mga problema namin, kundi pati sa hangarin naming maging malaya, to be authentic, to love. Isang gabi, habang naglalakad kami sa Charles Bridge, nagpa siya akong sabihin ang lihim ko. Felicity, there's something you should know about me. Simula ko, nanginginig ang boses. Huminto siya sa paglalakad at tumingin sa akin. What is it? I've never told anyone this before. Sabi ko, iniiwas ang tingin. But I think I've always known that I'm different. I've never been interested in men. I'm drawn to women. Tahimik siya sandali at ramdam ko ang mabilis na pagtibok ng puso ko. Natatakot akong marinig ang sasabihin niya. Ngumiti. Siya nang marahan at sinabi, Alessandra, you don't have to be afraid. I understand. You do? Tanong ko, nanginginig pa rin ang boses. Yes, sabi niya, hinawakan ang kamay ko. Hearing those words, parang may bigat na nawala sa dibdib ko. Sa unang pagkakataon sa buong buhay ko, hindi ako nag-iisa. May taong nakakaintindi sa akin, buo. Habang kumikislap ang mga ilaw ng lungsod sa paligid namin, lumapit siya, ang mga mata niya tumitingin diretso sa akin. Alessandra, bulong niya, can I kiss you? Tumango ako, walang masabi. Nang maglapat ang aming mga labi, parang huminto ang mundo. Wala nang Prague, wala nang ingay ng mga turista, kami lang dalawa. Sa simula, banayad at maingat, pero habang tumatagal, mas naging malalim, parang inilalabas namin lahat ng nakatagong damdamin sa sandaling iyon. Nang maghiwalay kami, ngumiti siya at sinabi, That felt right. It did, sagot ko, nakangiti rin. Sa unang pagkakataon, pakiramdam ko ay tunay akong buhay. Pero, DJ Serene, ang realidad, laging may paraan para bumalik. Kahit gaano ko gustong manatili sa mahikang bumalot sa amin ni Felicity, alam kong babalik din kami sa mga buhay namin. Anong mangyayari kapag bumalik tayo sa Pilipinas? Tanong niya isang gabi habang nakaupo kami sa isang park bench. Hindi ko alam, sagot ko. Nakatingin sa lupa. Hindi ko alam kung paano ko ipapaliwanag ito sa pamilya ko. Hindi ko rin alam kung kaya ko sabihin sa pamilya ko, pag-amin niya. They'd never understand. Nanatili kaming tahimik. Pero kahit puno ng takot at kawalang kasiguraduhan, alam naming dalawa ang isang bagay. Mahal namin ang isa't isa. At sa ngayon, sapat na iyon. Pagkatapos ng ilang linggo sa Prague, bumalik na kami sa Pilipinas. Ang pagpaalam kay Felicity sa airport ay parang paghiwalay ng isang bahagi ng sarili ko. Paulit-ulit kong naiisip ang bawat sandaling magkasama kami. Ang tawa niya, ang paraan ng paghawak niya sa kamay ko, at ang init ng kanyang halik. Pero nang lumapag ang eroplano sa Maynila, alam kong ang mundong babalikan namin ay hindi kailanman magpapahintulot na mahalin namin ang isa't isa ng malaya. Pagdating ko sa bahay, bumalik agad ang presyon mula sa pamilya ko. Alessandra, ani Papa sa pagbate. Next week, we're having dinner with the Chuas. Their son Henry just finished his MBA at Harvard. It's time you meet him. Pinilit kong ngumiti at tumango. Yes, Papa. Sagot ko, kahit gustong-gusto kong tumanggi. Kinagabihan, habang nakahiga ako sa kama, iniisip ko si Felicity. Ini-imagine ko siyang nakahiga rin sa sariling kama niya, pagod at naguguluhan tulad ko. Gusto ko siyang tawagan, pero alam kong pareho kaming pinapasan ang bigat ng sariling mundo. Makaraan ng ilang araw, tumawag si Felicity. Mabigat ang kanyang boses, puno ng frustration. Alessandra, simula niya. They're already talking about pairing me with someone. His name is Jacob, and my parents think he's perfect for me because he's devout and works in one of their charities. Alam ba nila tungkol sa atin? Tanong ko, kahit kinakabahan sa sagot. Hindi, sagot niya ng mahina. And they can never find out. It would destroy everything. Nasasaktan ako sa bawat salitang sinabi niya. Gusto ko siyang yakapin, sabihin na magiging okay ang lahat. Pero alam kong kasinungalingan iyon. Kahit sa gitna ng takot at pressure, nakahanap kami ng paraan para magtagpo ng palihim. Isang hapon, nagkita kami sa isang pribadong resort sa Batangas. Sometimes, I wish we could just run away, sabi niya. Ang mga mata nakatingin sa malayong dagat. Na-imagine ko rin. Sagot ko, hinawakan ang kanyang kamay. Do you think it's possible? Tanong niya. Nanginginig ang boses. Hindi ko alam, pag-aamin ko. Pero alam kong ayokong mawala ka. Tumingin siya sa akin, ang mga mata niya kumikislap sa luha na pilit niyang pinipigil. Ayoko rin na mawala ka, sabi niya. Lumapit siya, at muli, naramdaman ko ang init ng kanyang labi sa akin. Ang halik na iyon ay banayad at puno ng damdamin. Parang gusto naming huminto ang oras para mas tumagal ang sandali. Hinila ko siya palapit. Ang mga daliri ko humawak sa kanyang buhok habang mas naging malalim ang halik. Sa sandaling iyon, DJ Serene, parang nawala lahat ng problema. Nang maghiwalay kami, pinatong niya ang kanyang noo sa akin. You make me feel alive, Alessandra, bulong niya. You make me feel the same, sagot ko. At para sa isang iglap, parang kaya ng pagmamahal namin lampasan ang lahat ng hadlang. DJ Serene, ang pagmamahal sa tago ay tulad ng pagsayaw sa gilid ng bangin. Bawat hakbang, bawat galaw, puno ng pag-aalinlangan at takot. Ngunit kahit gaano pa ito kahirap, hindi namin kayang magbitiw. Nasa isang tahimik na villa kami sa Tagaytay. Ang gabi tahimik at ang hangin ay malamig. The moonlight bathed the room, casting a soft glow on Felicity's face. Alessandra, she whispered softly, her voice trembling with emotions. What would it be like if we didn't have to hide anymore? Tumingin ako sa kanya, ang puso ko'y parang tatakbo sa bilis, ngunit ang mga mata ko'y puno ng pagnanasa. I think about it all the time, sagot ko, my voice barely a whisper. I imagine waking up with you by my side. No secrets, no lies. Just us. Ngumiti siya, pero ang ngiti ay may lungkot sa mata. That's all I want too. A quiet life. Just you and me. Her words hit me deep, but before I could respond, she moved closer, her hands cupping my face gently as if asking permission. The moment felt suspended in time. The air was thick with the intensity of our feelings, and before I could process everything, her lips found mine. It was a kiss unlike any other. It was slow at first, tender, as though we were savoring the moment. Each touch, each movement laden with longing, but then it deepened. Her hand slid to my waist, pulling me closer, as if she could not get enough of me. My hands instinctively found their way into her hair, tangling in the soft strands, pulling her closer. We kissed with urgency now, a desperation to express everything we had kept locked inside for so long. "Alessandra," she breathed against my lips, her voice raw with emotion. "I've never wanted anyone the way I want you." "I want you too," I whispered, my breath catching. "Take me. I'm yours." And just like that, the world outside faded away. There was no past, no future, only the present, the heat of her touch, the softness of her lips against mine. I felt her body pressed against mine, our connection burning brighter with every passing second. She guided me gently to the bedroom, the moonlight casting a soft, ethereal glow on us. Felicity stood in front of me, her eyes searching mine, asking for permission. The weight of the moment settled in, and I nodded, the anticipation coursing through me. Slowly, she shed her coat, letting it fall to the floor. My hands followed suit, unbuttoning her blouse with delicate care. But the urgency was there, every movement filled with desire. "You're so beautiful," she murmured, her lips brushing against my collarbone. "So are you," I replied, my voice trembling as I traced the lines of her body. Each touch, each kiss, felt like a discovery, an exploration of a love we could no longer keep hidden. As we fell onto the bed, everything else seemed to disappear. The world outside no longer mattered. The only thing that existed in that moment was us, our bodies, our hearts, our love. Her lips traced a burning path down my neck, her hands exploring every inch of my skin. I gasped as she kissed me deeply, and I responded just as fiercely, our movements in perfect sync. "Felicity," I moaned, my hands gripping her shoulders as we moved together, a rhythm we had found, a rhythm that was ours alone. "I love you," she whispered, her voice raw, almost broken with emotion. "I love you too," I whispered back, tears welling. In my eyes from the depth of what we shared. The hours seemed to stretch into eternity, yet it felt like time stood still. We lay in each other's arms, tangled and breathless, the world outside forgotten. I traced patterns on her bare skin, marveling at the warmth of her embrace. For the first time in my life, I felt truly home. The next morning, I woke up to find Felicity watching me, a soft smile on her lips. "Good morning," she said, brushing a strand of hair away from my face. "Good morning," I replied, leaning in to kiss her. We spent the rest of the day wrapped in each other's presence. We cooked breakfast together, laughed over silly jokes, and lounged by the large windows, watching the lake shimmer under the sun. "If only we could stay here forever," I said, leaning my head on her shoulder. "We can't," she replied sadly, "but we'll always have this." And she was right. That weekend became a memory I would carry with me, a reminder of what it felt like to be free, even just for a little while. When it was time to leave, the heaviness returned. As we drove back to the city, The magic of the villa faded, replaced by the suffocating weight of our reality. "Alessandra," she said as we neared the highway, "promise me one thing." "What is it?" I asked, turning to her. "Promise me we'll keep fighting for this, no matter how hard it gets," she said, her voice breaking. I reached for her hand, squeezing it tightly. "I promise." But even as I said the words, DJ, I couldn't help but wonder how long we could keep this up. The world wasn't made for people like us. Not yet. DJ Serene, pagkatapos ng napakagandang weekend namin. Sa Tagaytay, bumalik ang realidad na pilit naming iniiwasan. Pagbalik ko sa bahay, hindi na naghintay ang tatay ko para simulan ang usapan tungkol kay Henry. "Alessandra," sabi niya habang kumakain kami ng hapunan, "Henry's family has agreed to a formal introduction dinner. It's time you get to know him better." Ang gusto ko sanang sabihin ay, ayoko. Pero alam kong hindi iyon pwedeng mangyari. "Yes, Papa," sagot ko. Kahit ang bigat-bigat ng dibdib ko. That night, habang nakahiga ako sa kama, tinititigan ko ang kisame. Para akong tau-tauhan sa isang mundong hindi ko ginusto. "Alessandra," Felicity said during one of our calls, her voice filled with frustration. "My parents have been bringing Jacob around more often. Nasa bawat family dinner siya, bawat event. Para bang pilit nilang tinutulak kami sa isa't isa?" "Kamusta naman siya?" tanong ko, kahit kinabahan ako sa posibleng sagot. "He's nice," she admitted. "He's polite and respectful. Pero, Alessandra, he's not you." Malaking ginhawa ang naramdaman ko sa sinabi niya, pero masakit din. Both of us were being pushed into lives we didn't want, lives we couldn't escape from. "I wish we could just run away," sabi ko, pilit na pinipigilan ang pag-crack ng boses ko. "I wish we could too," she replied. But we both know it's not that simple. Nagpatuloy ang mga tagpo namin ni Felicity, palihim at puno ng pag-iingat. Every meeting felt more desperate. Parang alam naming mas nagiging delikado ito habang tumatagal. One evening, nagkita kami sa isang small private cafe sa Makati. Tahimik ang lugar, malayo sa mga taong posibleng makakilala sa amin. Pagupo niya, napansin ko agad ang lungkot sa mga mata niya. "Are you okay?" tanong ko, hinawakan ang kamay niya across the table. "I'm tired, Alessandra," sabi niya habang tumingin sa akin. "Pagod na akong magtago, magpanggap. Parang hindi na natin alam kung hanggang kailan pa." Her words felt like a knife to my chest. I wanted to tell her everything would be okay, pero alam kong hindi iyon totoo. "I'm scared too," sagot ko, habang hawak pa rin ang kamay niya. But what choice do we have? If we tell them, we risk losing everything. If we keep hiding, we risk losing ourselves. She squeezed my hand, tears forming in her eyes. "I just want to be with you, Alessandra. That's all I want." "Me too," I whispered, my own tears threatening to fall. Pero sa loob-loob ko, natatakot akong baka hindi namin kayanin ang bigat ng lahat ng ito. One night, pagkatapos ng dinner na kasama si Henry at ang pamilya niya, tinawagan ko si Felicity. My frustration was boiling over. "I can't do this anymore," sabi ko habang nanginginig ang boses ko. Hindi ko na kayang magkunwari na gusto ko si Henry. "Do you think it's easier for me?" sagot niya, medyo galit. "I have to sit across from Jacob every night while my parents plan our future like I don't have a choice." "Then why don't we just tell them?" tanong ko, halos pasigaw. "And then what, Alessandra?" she shot back. "Do you really think they'll accept us? That everything will be fine?" Alam mo namang hindi ganun kadali. Her words stung, but I knew she was right. Tumahimik ako, ramdam ang bigat ng usapan. After a long pause, she spoke again, her voice softer this time. I'm sorry, Alessandra. I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. I don't either, sagot ko, halos pabulong. Pero mahal kita, Felicity. Isn't that worth fighting for? It is, she replied, her voice breaking. Pero hindi lahat ng pagmamahal kayang solusyonan ang lahat ng problema. A few days later, nagulat ako nang makita siya sa opisina ko. She looked tired but determined, her eyes filled with a mix of sadness and urgency. Can we talk? Tanong niya. Halatang nanginginig ang boses niya. I nodded and led her to a private room. As soon as the door closed, niyakap niya ako ng mahigpit. I don't want to lose you, she whispered, her voice trembling against my neck. You won't, sagot ko, habang mahigpit ko rin siyang niyayakap. We'll figure this out. Then she kissed me, fiercely, almost desperately. Ang bawat galaw niya parang sinasabi niya na ayaw niyang bitawan ang sandaling iyon. I kissed her back just as passionately, pouring all my love and fear into that moment. I love you, she said, her voice breaking. I love you too, I replied, tears streaming down my face. Pero sa kabila ng mga salitang iyon, DJ, hindi ko mapigilang tanungin ang sarili ko. Hanggang kailan namin kayang lumaban? DJ Serene, sa bawat araw na lumilipas, parang palapit ng palapit ang dulo ng lahat. Our secret was becoming harder to keep, and the pressure from our families was suffocating us both. One evening, napilitan akong sumama sa isang formal dinner with Henry and his family. My father sat beside me, proudly introducing me as the future leader of our business empire. Henry, of course, was polite and charming, pero alam kong walang spark. So, Alessandra, what do you like to do in your free time? Tanong niya, trying to make conversation. I enjoy traveling, sagot ko, forcing a smile. I recently went to Prague. It was beautiful. Maybe we should travel together someday, he said with a smile. I wanted to scream, to tell him that the only person I wanted to travel with was Felicity. But instead, I nodded politely and said, maybe. That night, pag-uwi ko, hindi ko napigilang umiyak. I felt like I was losing myself, bit by bit, with every lie I told. Alessandra, I don't think I can do this anymore, Felicity said during one of our late-night calls. Her voice was trembling, and I could hear the exhaustion in every word. What? Do you mean? Tanong ko, my heart pounding. My parents are pressuring me to say yes to Jacob, she said, her voice breaking. They're talking about arranging a formal engagement. No, I said, my voice shaking. You can't let that happen. I don't want to, Alessandra, she replied. But what choice do I have? Every time I say no, they tell me I'm being ungrateful, that I'm not thinking about the family. You're thinking about yourself, and that's not selfish, I argued. But it feels like it is. She said, her voice barely a whisper. I wanted to comfort her, to tell her that we would figure it out. But deep down, DJ, I was just as scared as she was. A few days later, Felicity called me. I need to see you, she said, her voice trembling. I'll pick you up, I replied without hesitation. That evening, we met in a private hotel room in Makati. It was the only place where we could be together without fear of being caught. The moment she walked in, she looked exhausted. Her shoulders slumped, her eyes heavy with unshed tears. I didn't wait for her to say anything. I crossed the room and pulled her into my arms. "It's okay," I whispered. "I'm here." She clung to me tightly, burying her face in my neck as her tears finally fell. We stood there for what felt like hours, neither of us saying a word, just holding on to each other. "I don't want to lose you," she finally whispered, her voice trembling. "You won't," I said firmly, pulling back to look into her eyes. "We'll figure this out, I promise." She nodded, but I could see the fear in her eyes. I wanted to take it all away, to give her the love and safety she deserved. Her lips found mine, and the kiss was different this time. Hindi lang basta pagmamahal, kundi desperation. It was like we were trying to drown out the noise of the world around us, to lose ourselves in each other, even for just a little while. She pushed me gently against the wall, her hands framing my face as her kisses became more fervent. My fingers tangled in her hair, pulling her closer, as though the space between us was too much to bear. "Felicity," I breathed, my voice trembling. "Shh," she whispered, her lips brushing against my jawline. "Just be with me." She slowly slid her hands down my sides, her touch igniting every nerve in my body. As she guided me toward the bed, her eyes never left mine, filled with both hunger and vulnerability. I reached for her, unbuttoning her blouse as she kissed me deeply, our breaths mingling as the intensity between us grew. Her hands moved over, my body exploring every inch of me like she was trying to memorize it. "You're beautiful," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "So are you," I replied, my hands tracing the curve of her back. We tumbled onto the bed, our movements becoming more urgent. Her lips traveled down my neck, leaving a trail of fire in their wake. My hands gripped her shoulders as I let myself surrender completely to her. "Alessandra," she murmured against my skin, her voice trembling with both love and need. "Love you," I whispered, my voice breaking. "I love you too," she replied, her kisses becoming softer but no less passionate. As we moved together, it felt like the rest of the world disappeared. In that moment, it was just our love, raw and real, overpowering everything else. Afterward, we lay tangled in each other's arms, the moonlight streaming through the window and illuminating her face. I traced circles on her bare shoulder, marveling at how peaceful she looked despite everything we were facing. "I don't want this to end," she said softly, her voice breaking the silence. "It doesn't have to," I replied, kissing her forehead. "We'll find a way." But even as I said the words DJ, alam kong mahirap ang daan na kailangan naming tahakin. The next morning, habang nakahiga kami sa kama, Felicity turned to me. "Alessandra, what if we just leave?" Tanong niya, her voice tentative. "Leave?" I asked, sitting up. "Yes," she said, her eyes filled with hope. "What if we leave the Philippines? Start fresh somewhere no one knows us." It was tempting, DJ. The idea of running away, of leaving everything behind to be with her, was the closest thing to a dream. Pero alam kong hindi ganun kadali. "Felicity, I want that more than anything," I said, taking her hand. "But what about our families? What about everything we'd leave behind?" "I don't care anymore," she said, her voice firm. "I just want to be with you." Her words broke my heart and filled it with hope at the same time. Could we really do it? Could we leave everything behind and start over? Before we left that room, Felicity and I made a pact. "Let's save enough money," she said. "Give it a few months, then we'll leave." "Okay," I agreed, my heart pounding with both fear and excitement. For the first time in weeks, I felt like we had a plan. It wasn't perfect and it wasn't guaranteed, pero may pag-asa na kami. As we said goodbye that day, Felicity hugged me tightly and said, "We can do this, Alessandra. Together." "Together," I echoed, holding her just as tightly. But even as I left that room, DJ, alam kong magiging mahirap ang daang tatahakin namin. The world wasn't kind to people like us, but for her, for us, I was willing to try. DJ Serene, after that fateful meeting, Felicity and I clung to the hope of a new beginning. May plano na kami. We would save enough money and leave the Philippines, start fresh somewhere no one knew us. It wasn't just a dream, it was our only chance to be together. Pero habang sinusubukan naming isakatuparan ng plano, na-realize namin na ang kalayaan ay may malaking kapalit. The closer we got to leaving, the heavier the consequences felt. Our love demanded sacrifices. But how much? Were we willing to give up? Sa araw-araw na lumilipas, lalo kaming nagiging maingat. Every call, every text message was coded in case someone else read it. Nagkikita pa rin kami in secret, but even those moments were starting to feel riskier. One evening, Felicity called me in a panic. "Alessandra," she said, her voice trembling, "I think my parents are starting to suspect something." "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart racing. "I left my phone on the dining table, and I think my mom saw your message. She didn't say anything, but she's been watching me closely ever since," she explained. "Do you think they'll confront you?" I asked, trying to stay calm. "I don't know," she replied, her voice breaking. "But I'm scared, Alessandra. What if they find out before we're ready to leave?" "They won't," I said firmly, though I wasn't sure if I believed it myself. "We just have to be more careful." Pero DJ, ang pagiging maingat ay parang nagiging mas mahirap habang tumatagal. The more we tried to protect our secret, the more fragile it felt. To escape the suffocating tension at home, we decided to meet in Tagaytay again. "It's safer there," Felicity said. "Far enough from Manila, and no one we know goes there." We booked a small, private cabin overlooking the lake. The place was simple, but it felt like heaven, just the two of us, away from everyone else. The first night, as we sat by the window, watching the lights reflect on the water, Felicity leaned her head on my shoulder. "Do you think we'll ever really be free?" she asked softly. "I don't know," I admitted. "But as long as we're together, I'll keep trying." Shiki turned to me, her eyes filled with a mix of love and fear. "Alessandra, I don't think I've ever loved anyone the way I love you." "I feel the same," I said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I kissed her, and what started as a gentle, tender moment quickly became something deeper. Her hands slid up my arms, pulling me closer until I was practically in her lap. My fingers tangled in her hair as I kissed her back with equal intensity. "Felicity," I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. "I need you," she replied, her breath warm against my lips. We moved to the bed, the air between us charged with both longing and urgency. Her hands traced every inch of my skin, as if trying to memorize me. and I did the same to her. "You're my everything," she murmured, her lips trailing down my neck. "And you're mine," I replied, my voice breaking as tears streamed down my cheeks. That night, DJ, felt like a promise, a vow that no matter what happened, we would hold on to each other for as long as we could. The next morning, habang nag-aalmusal kami, Felicity's phone buzzed with a series of messages. I watched as her face paled while reading them. "What is it?" I asked, setting down my coffee. "It's my mom," she said, her voice shaking. "She's asking where I am. She says she called Jacob, and he told her he hasn't seen me in days." "Do you think she knows?" I asked, my heart pounding. "I don't know," she said, standing up and pacing the room. "But I need to go home. If I don't, they'll get suspicious." My chest tightened at the thought of her leaving, but I nodded. "Okay, just be careful." Before she left, she cupped my face in her hands and kissed me deeply. "No matter what happens, I'll find a way back to you," she whispered. "I'll wait for you," I promised. Watching her walk away felt like a piece of my heart was being ripped out. For the first time, DJ, I felt like our time was running out. Days passed, but I didn't hear from Felicity. Every call went straight to voicemail, and every text I sent remained unread. Pilit kong iniintindi na baka sobrang higpit ng pagbabantay ng pamilya niya, pero hindi ko mapigilang mag-alala. What if they found out? What if they did something to her? "Felicity," I whispered to myself one night as I stared at my phone, willing it to ring. "Where are you?" It was the longest week of my life, DJ, filled with sleepless nights and unanswered questions. Every second without her felt like an eternity. Finally, after what felt like forever, I received a call. "Alessandra," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Felicity, are you okay?" I asked, relief flooding through me. "I can't talk long," she said quickly. "They've been watching me. I think they know." "What do you mean?" I asked, my heart pounding. "They've taken my phone. I'm using a burner phone to call you," she explained. "Alessandra, I don't know how much longer I can keep this up." "We'll figure something out," I said desperately. "I'll come get you. Just tell me where." "No," she said firmly. "It's too dangerous right now. But please don't give up on me." "I won't," I promised. "I'll wait for you, Felicity, no matter what." But DJ Serene, sa bawat araw na lumilipas, mas lalo naming nararamdaman ni Felicity na ang aming sikreto ay nasa bingit na ng pagkabunyag. One night, after several days of silence, Felicity finally called me. Halata sa boses niya ang pag-aalala at "Alam kong may masamang balita. Alessandra," she began, her voice trembling. "Felicity, what's wrong? Where have you been?" Tanong ko, kinakabahan. "I need to tell you something," she said softly. "My parents confronted me. No, tumigil ang mundo ko. They know about us?" "Yes," she whispered, her voice breaking. "They found out about Prague. They saw the messages. Everything." I sat down, my hands shaking. "What did they say? Are you okay?" "They're furious," she admitted. "They said I've brought shame to the family. They're threatening to cut me off unless I agree to marry Jacob." "Felicity, you can't let them force you into this," I said, desperation in my voice. "I don't want to, Alessandra. But what choice do I have?" Tanong niya, her voice cracking. Her words broke me, DJ. I wanted to tell her to choose me, to leave it all behind. Pero alam kong hindi ganon kadali. Nagkita kami kinabukasan sa isang tahimik na lugar sa Antipolo, overlooking the city lights. Felicity chose the spot, away from prying eyes, pero halata pa rin ang tensyon sa bawat galaw niya. Pagkakita ko sa kanya, niyakap ko siya ng mahigpit. "Are you okay?" Tanong ko, trying to steady my voice. "I don't know," she admitted, her tears falling freely. Everything feels like it's falling apart. We sat on a bench, the cold breeze brushing against us as the city sparkled below. "Alessandra," she said, turning to me, "I don't know what to do. I love you, but I also love my family. How do I choose?" Her words shattered me, DJ. Gusto kong sabihin na madali lang ang lahat, pero alam kong hindi iyon totoo. "You don't have to choose," sabi ko, hawak ang kamay niya ng mahigpit. "We can still leave. We can start over just like we planned." "It's not that simple anymore," she replied, shaking her head. "They're watching my every move, and if I leave now, I'll lose everything." "I'm here," I told her, squeezing her hand. "No matter what happens, I'm here." She leaned in and kissed me, her lips trembling against mine. The kiss was desperate, filled with love and heartbreak, as though we were clinging to something that was already slipping away. "Felicity," I whispered, holding her face in my hands. "We'll figure this out." "I hope so," she said, her voice heavy with sadness. That night, DJ, for the first time, our love felt fragile. After hours of talking, we both knew it might be the last time we'd see each other for a while. "Felicity," I said, my voice cracking, "promise me you won't give up on us." "I promise," sagot niya, pero ramdam kong hindi sigurado ang tono niya. As she walked away, leaving me behind with the city lights twinkling below, a part of me knew that our love was being tested in ways neither of us was ready for. A week later, tinawag ako ng tatay ko sa opisina niya. "Alessandra," he began, his tone cold and firm. "The Chuas have been asking about the engagement. Henry is ready, and I expect you to be as well." "Papa," I said, my voice trembling, "I'm not ready for this." He frowned, his eyes narrowing. "You've had enough time to prepare. This is about the family, Alessandra. Your personal feelings don't matter here." Ang mga salita niya ay parang kutsilyong tumama sa dibdib. I wanted to scream pero alam kong wala akong magagawa. "I'll think about it," sagot ko, hoping to buy more time. Then DJ, the text I had been dreading, came. "I'm sorry," Felicity wrote. "I can't do this anymore. My parents are arranging my engagement with Jacob. I have no choice." Words felt like a dagger to my heart. I called her immediately, but she didn't answer. I texted her again and again, begging her to meet me, but there was no response. For days, I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I was consumed by thoughts of her, of everything we had lost. She was my world, and she was slipping away. Desperado na ako, DJ. Kaya pumunta ako sa bahay nila. I didn't care about the risks anymore. When I saw her, she looked pale, her eyes hollow. "Felicity," I said, my voice trembling, "please don't do this. Don't let them take you away from me." "I don't have a choice, Alessandra," she said, her voice barely audible. "They'll destroy me if I leave." "Then, let them," I said, my voice breaking. "We can leave. We can build a life together, far away from this." She shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "I wish it were that simple. I love you, Alessandra. I always will." But I can't do this anymore. Her words broke me, DJ. I stood there, frozen as she walked away, taking my heart with her. DJ. The days after Felicity left felt like a blur. I moved through life like a ghost, carrying the weight of everything we had lost. But even though she was gone, I knew one thing for certain. Our love was real. And that love, no matter how brief, was worth every risk, every tear, and every moment of pain. DJ Serene, it's been months since the last time I saw Felicity. The pain of losing her was unbearable at first. Parang araw-araw. Bumabalik sa isip ko ang mga alaala namin. I replayed every kiss, every promise, and every moment we shared, wondering if there was something I could have done differently. But as time passed, I realized that holding on to the pain wasn't helping me. I needed to find a way to move forward. Kahit sobrang hirap, I owed it to myself to heal, to find out who I was without the weight of everyone else's expectations. In the weeks after Felicity left, I buried myself in work. It was the easiest way to distract myself from the emptiness. My father was pleased, thinking I had finally set my priorities straight. "This is good, Alessandra," he said one evening over dinner. "You're becoming the woman we always knew you could be." But DJ, what my father didn't know was that while I appeared to be thriving, I was barely holding myself together. My heart wasn't in it. Every time I closed my office door, I let the mask slip. Parang may malaking bahagi ng buhay ko na nawala at hindi ko alam kung paano ito maibabalik. One weekend, I decided to take a break from it all. I packed a bag and drove to La Union, a place I'd heard so much about but had never visited. The idea of surfing, quiet beaches, and watching the sunset appealed to me. Wala akong plano, just me, the ocean, and time to think. Sitting on the shore, watching the waves crash, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Calm. "Who are you now, Alessandra?" I asked myself, the question ringing in my mind. For years, I had been defined by what others expected of me. My parents, society, even Felicity. They had all shaped my choices in one way or another. But for the first time, I realized I could define myself. I didn't have to be the perfect daughter, the obedient heiress, or even the heartbroken lover. I could just be me. While I was in La Union, I started keeping a journal. Every morning, I would write down my thoughts, my fears, and even the things I was grateful for. One day, I wrote a letter to Felicity. "Felicity," I began, "I hope you're happy. Wherever you are, I want you to know that I still think about you. I don't regret anything we had, even though it ended in heartbreak. You taught me what it means to love fearlessly, and for that, I will always be grateful. You gave me the strength to fight for myself, even when it felt impossible." I didn't send the letter, DJ. I folded it and kept it in my journal, like a reminder that I was learning to let go, one step at a time. Pagbalik ko sa Maynila, I knew I couldn't go back to living the way I had been. I decided to take a step back from the family business. "Papa," I said one evening, my voice steady, "I need time to explore something outside of the company." He frowned, clearly displeased. "What do you mean? The business needs you." "I know," I replied, "but I also need to find myself. I've spent my whole life trying to be what you wanted. Now, I want to see what I can do on my own." It wasn't an easy conversation, DJ. My father didn't understand, and maybe he never will. But for the first time, I stood my ground. I started a small online business, something I had always wanted to try. I sold curated home decor pieces inspired by my travels, including the time I spent with Felicity. The process of creating something from scratch, something that was mine, helped me heal. It gave me purpose beyond what was expected of me. These days, my life is much simpler, but it's also more peaceful. I live in a small condo in Makati, away from the grandiose halls of my family's estate. My days are spent managing my business, reading books, and exploring parts of the city I never had time to notice before. I still think about Felicity sometimes, especially on quiet evenings when the world feels still. Minsan iniisip ko kung masaya ba siya. Is she married now? Did she find peace? But instead of sadness, there's gratitude. Because even though we didn't get our happy ending, our story gave me the courage to begin my own. Looking to the future. One afternoon, habang naglalakad ako sa park, I saw a young couple sitting on a bench. They were laughing, holding hands, and sharing a bag of street food. It reminded me of Felicity and me, of what we could have had. But instead of feeling pain, I smiled. Our love, kahit hindi nagtagal, had been real. It was beautiful. And it had taught me the most important lesson of all: to love myself enough to fight for my own happiness. Now, I'm open to the idea of love again. Maybe one day, I'll meet someone who will see me for who I am. No hiding, no fear. Until then, I'll keep building a life I'm proud of, one that's authentically mine. Mga kaibigan, minsan, ang pag-ibig ay hindi laging nagtatapos sa paraang inaasahan natin. Sometimes, love isn't about forever. It's about growth, about learning to be brave enough to live your truth. Alessandra's story reminds us that even in heartbreak, there is hope. Kahit masakit, it's important to pick yourself up and build a life that makes you happy. Kung ikaw ay nasa parehong sitwasyon, tandaan mo, you deserve to live a life that's true to you. Never settle for less than the love and happiness you deserve. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more stories of love, hope, and resilience.